This program is rated SPG. It contains scenes with themes, language, violence, sex, horror, or drugs, which may not be suitable for children. Strong parental guidance is advised.
Good day, everyone. This is the Amazing Macro. This is Regine Altitanes, and along with my Group 1 colleagues, we will discuss the different forms of tourism for our episode today. Tourism is one of the world's fastest growing industries and a major foreign exchange and employment generation for many countries. It is one of the most remarkable economic and social phenomena. Tourism is defined as the movement of the people from their normal place of residence to another place with the intention to return for a minimum period of 24 hours to a maximum of 6 months for the sole purpose of leisure and pleasure. Adventure tourism is a type of niche tourism involving exploration or travel to remote areas where the traveler should expect the unexpected. Adventure tourism is rapidly growing in popularity as tourists seek unusual holidays different from the typical beach vacation. Mountaineering expeditions, trekking, bungee jumping, rafting, and rock climbing are frequently cited as an example of adventures. There are reasons for adventure tourism. First, when you get dirty, you improve your physical health. Second, outdoor activities can prevent or treat a wide range of health problems. Number 3, there are no age limits on adventure. Number 4, take a hike, get a bigger brain. Number 5, going on adventure raises your tolerance for uncertainty. Number 6, adventure travel lets you safely try on alternative lives. Number 7, going on adventure fosters reflectiveness, a mental skill often short in supply today. Number 8, adventure travel feeds your dreams and builds your confidence. Number 9, adventure experiences remedy a societal ill, a loss of adventurous children and the extinguishing one. For the last reason for the adventure tourism, we have adventure travelers may be more important than ever for saving the world. For the next form of tourism, we have the culinary tourism. Culinary tourism includes any tourism experiences in which a person learns about, appreciates, consumes, or dare we say, indulges in food and drink that reflects the local cuisine, heritage, or culture of a place. Culinary tourism is not limited to gourmet food. In fact, we like to use the term food tourism more often than not just keep in from feeling elitist. It is about what is unique, authentic, and memorable about the food stories our region have to tell. There are also personalities that are widely known in relation to this form of tourism. So we have the local, for example, Annalyn, Nora Daza, and Boy Logro. For the international, we have the Gordon Ramsay, Jamie Oliver, and Anthony Bourdain. We also have different cuisines, for example, Filipino cuisine, and under this Filipino cuisine, we have Negros Occidental, Pampanga, Bulacan, Ilocos Norte or Ilocos Sur, and Benguet. For our international or global cuisine, we have Japanese, Chinese, Italian, and Thailand. Now, from exerting physical activities from adventure tourism to fulfilling our tummies with the culinary tourism, let's proceed with reaching the stars. Mr. Andres will discuss the next forms of tourism.
Thank you, Ms. Reg, for that short yet extravagant explanation and example of culinary and adventure tourism. Now, the next two topics will be discussed by me, and the first one is nautical tourism.
Under the sea, under the sea.
Nautical tourism is a tourism that combines sailing and boating with vacation and holiday activities. It can be traveling from port to port in a cruise ship or joining boat-centered events such as regattas or landing a small boat for lunch or other day recreation at specially prepared day boat landings. It is a form of tourism that is generally more popular in the summertime. Here are some nautical tourism activities and attractions of the Philippines. The first one is Siargao Island Hopping. The next one is Puerto Princesa Underground River Tour. The third one is Boracay Private Island Hopping Tour. The fourth one is Oslo Whale Shark Watch. The fifth one is Canyoneering Experience in Kawayan Falls. The sixth one is Shared Puerto Princesa Bay Cruise with dinner and fireflies watching. And the last one is Coron Ultimate Tour. Now, it's down in my last topic that I will discuss, and it's called space tourism.
It's one small step for man.
Space tourism, recreational space travel, either of or establish government-owned vehicles such as the Russian Soyuz and the International Space Station, or ISS, or on vehicles fielded by private companies. Since the flight of the world's first space tourist American businessman Dennis Tito on April 28, 2001, space tourism has gained new prominence as more suborbital and orbital tourism opportunities have become available. Here are some space tourism activities and attractions of the world. The first one is Virgin Galactic. It is part of the wider Virgin Group. The Virgin Galactic Space Tourism Company is aiming to provide regular suborbital space flights for paying customers. The second one is SpaceX. It's already hugely experienced when it comes to launching space-bound flights, and the company is also hoping to get for the space tourism bandwagon. And the last one is Blue Origin. It has been the main competitor for the Virgin Galactic in terms of suborbital space travel tourism. This is the end line for my topic. If you are interested in the environmental disaster, either natural or man-made, and the black, morbid, or grief tourism that has been defined as tourism involving travel to places historically associated with death and tragedy, then Mr. Lian is the man for the next forms of tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Mendes. For the next section of our discussion, we're going to talk about disaster and dark tourism. So first off, disaster tourism. It is also considered as a subsector of dark tourism. But let us discuss the word where this is based on, and that is disaster. Disaster is a sudden accident or natural catastrophe that causes great damage or loss of life. An example is earthquakes, floods, tsunamis, and so on. Disaster tourism is the act of traveling to a disaster area as a matter of curiosity. The disaster may be subjected to man-made or natural environmental catastrophes. Popular places where this tourism is the Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, the Chernobyl power plants in Ukraine where Reactor 4 has a meltdown, and the volcano creeks in Pompeii, Italy, where in 79 AD Mount Vesuvius erupted and buried the ancient city of Rome with thick carpets of volcanic ash. You might ask, why do people indulge themselves in such tourism? Why do people go to places where a disaster occurred? First of all, of course, it's just like what I've said. It draws curiosity towards a person. They grow curious of what the aftermath is or what has happened to the place. They would also want to have a sense of first-hand experience, where they want to know what really happened or how it really happened without any intermediaries of media that may not cover the event fully or accurately. Next up, we're going to discuss a tourism that explores a much more gruesome, much more darker parts of the acts of man. Dark tourism's earlier definition, according to John Lennon and Malcolm Foley, is that it is the representation of inhuman acts and how these are interpreted for visitors, as well as Dr. Philip Stone of the University of Lancaster in 2005, where he defines it as the act of travel and visitation to the sites, attractions, exhibitions which have real or recreated death, suffering, or the unseemingly macabre as a main theme. To put it simply, it can be described as a tourism where you visit dark historical locations that are associated with death and suffering. These are some places where this tourism is popular in the Philippines. First is the Corregidor. located at the entrance of the Manila Bay and originally served as a fortress for registering ships entering the bay during the Spanish era. But General Douglas MacArthur chose the island and Bataan as a major defense point during the Second World War. Thus, many soldiers have died. Second is the Manila Film Center, where the scaffolding of the fourth floor collapsed and the quick-drying cement trapped the workers, thus killing them. And still to this day, the number of workers are still unknown. And lastly, the La Peral White House. The White House was built around the 1930s, but when the Second World War emerged, the Japanese used the White House as a garrison, where they kill Filipinos who they believe as spies, and they used it as a place where they raped women repeatedly. The La Peral eventually got their ownership of the house back after the war, but this is not where the horror ends. One of the most tragic losses this family has experienced is that when their 3.5-year-old daughter died during a hit by a truck on the passing street, and the nanny who was supposed to keep an eye on her also took her own life. But she took her own life at the attic because of the grief, sadness, and the guilt that she had experienced. So that is all for the part of my discussion. The next form of tourism might bring back a bit of a brighter, much more colorful side of tourism. May I pass on to Mr. Mix de Alo to give you the LGBT, sex, and medical tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Vileo. We will now digress from all the morbidity and celebrate pride by discussing LGBT tourism.
Oh, honey.
LGBT tourism, or gay tourism, is a form of touristry marketed to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, or LGBT people. Typically, these tourists are open about their sexual orientation, but sometimes, these vacations allow people to feel more comfortable if they feel closeted at home. The main component of LGBT tourism is for locations and travel services to attract the tourists. LGBT tourism has sometimes been called gaycation, which implies a version of a vacation that incorporates some aspect of LGBT culture.
Some top gay-friendly destinations in the world are Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, New York and San Francisco, USA, London, England, and Bangkok, Thailand. These places have an abundance of activities for people of all sexuality, but its numerous gay clubs, bars, beaches, hotels, and saunas make these areas the most popular locations for LGBT tourism.
These places are a thriving marketplace for all things gay. And there is a sense of acceptance and belonging that is promoted throughout the districts that attract many LGBT travelers. Now, let's get sexy with sex tourism. It involves travel to a particular destination to pursue sexual services. For many, sex tourism invokes connotations of commodification and prostitution, but it is not simply about sexual activities.
Sex tourism is a response to the complex interaction of gender, class, cultural, sexual, and power relations in both the tourists and the person offering sex in society in which they live. Sex tourism is illegal in many countries. However, it is popular in destinations like Amsterdam, Thailand, and the Gambia. Sex tourism is usually associated with prostitution, the search for male brides, sex shows, and activities like child sex tourism and sex slavery or trafficking. Whilst many people would argue that sex tourism is morally unethical, for others, there may be an argument for maintaining the sex tourism trade. Some destinations have argued for the legalization of prostitution. These places contend that if it was legal, people could collect taxes from workers, give the workers rights, and put the relevant regulations in place.
With that being said, there are different degrees of sex tourism, ranging from commercial to voluntary. This culture exists and is here to stay. For my last topic, we will be discussing medical tourism. But first, medical tourism is when you travel to another country or another part of your home country as a domestic tourist to undergo a particular medical procedure. In the past, this generally meant people traveling from third world or less developed countries to obtain medical treatment in countries that can provide better healthcare systems. Now, it is often the other way around. People will travel to developing countries as they can often get these treatments cheaper. There's also the need to travel to different countries sometimes, as a treatment you may want or need may not be available in your home country.
The most common procedures that people undergo on medical tourism trips include dental care, surgery, cosmetic surgery, fertility treatments, organ and tissue transplantation, and cancer treatments. There are certain places where medical tourism is most popular. These include India, Turkey, Brazil, Thailand, and Czech Republic.
We now segue on to educational tourism and other forms of tourism. Ms. Elika?
Thank you, Mr. Diallo. So now let's go and talk about educational tourism. Educational tourism can be defined as tourism that pursues educational learning as a pretext for a trip, either learning knowledge, historical, for cultural, and social, and also the learning for language. Educational tourism is all about gaining new knowledge and experience of new things, new ideas, and new concepts. While outside, the participants explore and experience. There are several types of educational tourism. The first one is educational cruise. The second one is school trips. And the third one is seminar vacation. First, educational cruises mix all the excitement of cruises with lectures on variety of topics, offering the benefits of bringing together people who share interests, also increasing the chances of meeting new friends by learning new things. Second one is school trip. Help develop students with their self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-beliefs. It gives young people the chance to experience cultures, respect differences, develop new friendship with their peers, and thus broadening their horizons. A good example of this are field trips. Last one is the seminar vacation. Engage people in numerous activities to develop new skills and to discover different cultures. Example like convention hotels, resorts, and casinos bring us closer to ourselves and others. Did you know that educational tourism began with educational entertainment trip known as a grand tour of Europe around the 18th century? Educational tourism is one type of tourism that aims to provide people with the best education and information possible. Education tourism is beneficial for the host nation and host community. It has potential for the development of local community, region, and nation at large. So, sport tourism refers to the experience of travel to engage in or view sport-related activities. We have three different types of sport tourism. First, with sport event tourism. Sport event tourism includes participating in hallmark events such as the Olympic Games, the Super Bowl, and the World Cup Soccer Championship. These sports events are actively promoted as a tourist attraction. The second type of sport tourism is the active sport tourism. These are for those individuals who travel to participate in sport events that encompasses the active sport tourism category. These participation events can take a wide variety of forms in a wide variety of sports like golf, kayaking, tennis, fishing, and surfing. People included in this type of tourism have hobbyists. These people engage in sport-related travel as a form of leisure. So the last type is the nostalgia sport tourism. Nostalgia sport tourism involves traveling to famous sport-related attractions. Visit to various sporting hall of fames or historical sport venue or landmarks are good example of this sport-related tourist trip. Sport museums such as the NASCAR Museum in Charlotte, North Carolina, and famous sport venues such as in Longview Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin fall into this category. Here are some general benefits of sports tourism. Sport tourism are great investment in the tourism industry. It creates economic growth through field hotel, restaurant, and retail establishment. It creates exposure and enhances a positive image for your community. It maximizes facility as in your community. It builds community relationship and strengthens corporate support. It also secures the financial legacy of management of new facility, and it increases community support for sport and sport event. Volunteer tourism is basically a combination of volunteering and tourism. Volunteerism is a popular form of international travel. You use your time and energy to help others while exploring a different country and culture. You can volunteer abroad or do an international tour. So, why should you try volunteerism? Volunteerism gives you the chance to meet new friends. Joining a volunteerism event, granted that it's open to a public and without knowing any of the other volunteers. You can go home with new set of long-term friends and travel companions. Through volunteerism, we can see that world in the different light. As they say, tourists and travelers are different species. During our normal vacation, we visit popular tourist attraction and never find out what life is like for the locals. In contrast, going on a volunteerism trip will let you sink into the culture of the place you're visiting, at least for a day, and experience or observe firsthand the life outside and comfort of urban community. The sole benefits of volunteerism is its role in alleviating poverty. If done in sustainable manner, volunteerism can help celebrating a local community. Thank you for your time, and up next, we have Miss Kasapa with her and three more other forms of tourism.
Wow, thank you, Miss Angelica, for that wonderful discussion. Now, before I discuss my topics, my name is Joyce Daniel Kasapao, and we will talk about urban tourism, rural tourism, and ecotourism. So, urban tourism is a term describing multiple tourist activities in which city is main destination and place of interest. This form of tourism is relatively old and very complex. Cities were always purpose of many journeys and trips, although it becomes more and more popular phenomenon since 50s. As a subject of research, urban tourism did not exist before 80s until 90s was very underestimated. Tourism within cities is strongly connected with their growth and technology development as well as roads, transportations, and railways. The effect of urban tourism. Dynamic development of urban tourism is source of employment and growing incomes in the urban areas as well as because of cultural and social growth, increased quality of life, income redistribution. However, it brings also negative effects such as air pollution, noise and decreased availability of the city center and attractions important to local inhabitants like parks, cultural and recreational areas. What is rural tourism? Rural tourism is tourism which takes place in non-urbanized areas. These areas typically include but are not limited to like national parks, forests, countryside areas, and mountain areas. Rural tourism is closely aligned with the concept of sustainable tourism, given that it is inherently linked to green spaces and commonly environmentally friendly forms of tourism, such as hiking and camping. Rural tourism can be defined as the country experience which encompasses a wide range of attractions and activities that take place in agricultural or non-urban areas. Its essential characteristics include wide open spaces, low levels of tourism development, and opportunities for visitors to directly experience agricultural or natural environments. Ecotourism can be defined as responsible travel to natural areas that conserve the environment. sustains the well-being of the local people, involves interpretation and education. Ecotourism is about uniting conservation, communities, and sustainable travel. This means that those who implement, participate in, and market ecotourism activities should adopt the following ecotourism principles. First, we have minimized physical, social, behavioral, and psychological impacts. Second, build environmental and cultural awareness and respect. Third, provide positive experiences for both visitors and hosts. And fourth, provide direct financial benefits for conservation. Fifth, generate financial benefits for both local people and private industry. Deliver memorable interpretative experiences to visitors that help raise sensitivity to host countries' political, environmental, and social climates. Design, construct, and operate low-impact facilities. Recognize the rights and spiritual beliefs of the indigenous people in your community and work in partnership with them to create empowerment. And for our next topic, we will have Ms. Arrepentido for the exciting events and scenario when it comes to community celebrations.
Thank you, Ms. Joyce, for your discussion. For the last three forms of tourism, I will discuss heritage tourism, festival tourism, and the events tourism. Now, on the first topic, heritage tourism. What is heritage tourism? The National Trust for Historic Preservation in the Philippines defines heritage tourism as traveling to experience the places, artifacts, and activities that authentically represent the stories and people of the past. And heritage tourism can include cultural, historic, and natural resources. Here are some examples of heritage sites in the Philippines. First, the Church of San Agustin Church, located in Intramuros, Manila. Second, the historic city of Vigan, which can be found in Ilocos Sur. And the last, rice terraces of the Philippine Cordilleras in the Ifugao province. These places exemplify evolved, living cultural landscapes that can be traced as far back as 2,000 years ago. Heritage tourism creates and defines opportunities to experience the places, people, activities, and artifacts that authentically represent our past and present. Through this touristry, we see, experience, and feel our foundations as we build toward the future. Our next form of tourism is the events tourism. From the demand side, event tourism refers to the propensity of travel to attend events, both on the part of dedicated event tourists who are motivated to travel for specific events and other tourists who attend events while away from home. Events are important motivators of tourism, and they greatly influence the development of a destination. All other cultural activities can be subsumed by event tourism. This includes concerts, competition, sports events, expositions, games, jubilees parties, and parades. Some international event examples are the Rio de Janeiro Carnivals in Brazil, the Mardi Gras Festival in New Orleans, USA, Olympic Winter and Summer Games, Le Tour de France, and the last, the Formula One Italian Grand Prix. And for our last form of tourism, I will end with festival tourism. Please note that festival tourism is a subsector of events tourism, in which the motivation to travel is the willingness to attend festivals is referred to as festival tourism. Major one-time or recurring events of limited duration. Developed primarily to enhance the awareness, appeal, and profitability of a tourism destination in the short and or long term. Here are some of the biggest Philippine festivals you must experience. First, Sinulog Festival in Cebu. Second, Pahiyas Festival in Lucban, Quezon. Third, Lechon Festival in Batangas. And the last, Mascara Festival in Bacolod. Festival helps protect local cultural traditions, develop tourism, and promote the economic, social, and cultural developments of the destination. Specifically, the success of a festival helps attract large crowds, thus strengthening the attractiveness of cities, communities, or tourism destinations. That is it for all 18 forms of tourism. We hope you've learned something new. On behalf of Group 2, my name is Mary Jane Arrepentido, and we will see you next time here on Amazing Macro. Thank you!